Unit 20. For Unit 20 and 21, I'm just going to do a couple problems from your assignment so that you already have some done. So for Unit 20, what I'm doing right now is number 1 on your assignment. Now the instructions tell us to solve for the center-to-center and end-to-end dimensions for pipes J, K, and L of the 3 pipe diagrams shown. Use dimensions, pipe sizes given, and 45-degree offset for each problem. Okay, so the first thing we always want to do is when we are looking at our pipe diagram, we want to see if we have any that are on a diagonal. And you should notice right now that pipe K is on a diagonal. When you find the pipe that is on a diagonal, always draw yourself a right triangle. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to go straight across, and then I'm going to go straight up and down as well. And then I'm going to put in that we have our right angle. And so there's our right triangle. Now let's label some of the dimensions that they give us. Over here I've kind of written things down for us. The overall height is 30 inches. So underneath overall, I am going to change this to a different view. Maybe, it won't let me. Okay, so our overall is 30 inches. Our start is 9 inches. Our offset is 11 inches. And they tell us that we are using 1-inch threaded pipe. So, looking at pipe J, we can see that pipe J is from the center of this fitting to the center of this fitting, from the 90 to the 45. And you'll notice that that's the exact measurement of the start. So we already know that pipe J from center to center is 9 inches. I like to do all of the center to centers and then come back and do the end to ends. So now we're looking at pipe K. And pipe K, if you look down here, we know that the offset, this is the horizontal distance, is 11 inches. And if we go up, that's this measurement right here. And so I'm going to label, hey, this is 11 inches. The next thing that we want to notice is that this fitting is a 45 and this fitting is a 45. And in the last couple units that we've been doing, we've learned that if you have two 45s, the sides of the triangle are exactly the same, which means that this piece of the triangle would have to be 11 inches. Now, to solve for K, we could do one of two things. We could do Pythagorean's theorem, a squared plus b squared equals k squared. Or, remember the trick is, if your sides are both the same, which they are, you can multiply by the 45-degree constant, which is 1.414. So I'm going to write this down at the bottom just so I have some work. To find K, we did 11 inches, and we're multiplying by 1.414, which is the constant for a 45. And I'm just typing that in my calculator right now. 11 multiplied by 1.414 equals 15.554 inches. Now, it's unnatural for us to leave our numbers as decimals. And so, because I don't have a construction calculator with me, I'm going to use the table in the back of my book to help me convert that. It's on page 260. And I'm finding where 0.554 would land. And it's landing at 9/16. So it's really close to 15.5, but it's actually 15 and 9/16 inches. And so up here on K, 15 and 9/16 inches. Now we're on to L. So L, we're going to have to do some work. We know that the overall height right here is 30 inches. Okay, now we know that from here to here is 9, and from here to here is 11. And if I was to add 9 and 11 together, I would get 20. So that means from here to here is 20. Now, let's think about this. We know that this overall from top to bottom is 30 inches, and we know that from here to here is 20 inches. So the leftover would be here to here. Well, the leftover, or the difference between 20 and 30, is 10. So this distance must be 10 inches, which is the same length as L. So I'm going to write this down at the bottom just so you can see. To find L, we took 30 inches, and we subtracted off the 9 inches and the 11 inches, and the leftover was 10 inches. So L is 10 inches. Now, to find our end to ends, we're going to have to go to the back of our book and use data table 5. It is on page 264. So, I'm going to start out with pipe J. And for pipe J, its center to center measurement is 9, and I'm going to be taking off. So I'm going to 1 inch threaded, and J is between a 90-degree fitting and a 45-degree fitting. Here's our 90 and here's our 45. So the takeoff for a 90 is 1.5, so take off 1.5. And the takeoff for a 45 is 1 1/8. And then my threads I have to add back on, a 1/2 inch per fitting. And so I'm opening up my calculator. If you don't have a construction calculator, this makes things a lot more difficult for you. I would suggest downloading like a fraction calculator app for free, or going and getting a calculator. That would make your life a lot easier. 9 minus 1.5 minus 1 1/8 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 7 3/8. So when I make my cut of my threaded pipe, I'm going to actually cut it to be a 7 3/8 pipe instead of a 9-inch pipe. Okay, now moving on to K. K is in between two 45s. We've got this 45 and we've got this 45. So pipe K is 15 9/16 center to center. And we are taking off for 45s. So 1 1/8 minus 1 1/8 for each fitting. And then we're adding back our 1/2 inch for the threads. So 15 9/16 minus 1 1/8 minus 1 1/8 plus 1/2 plus 1/2. I am getting 14 5/16 inches. And our last one, pipe L. Pipe L is in between a 45 fitting and a 90 fitting, which we already know the takeoffs for those. So 10 inches, take off 1 1/8 for the 45, take off 1 1/2 for the 90, and then add 1/2 inch per fitting. 10 minus 1 1/8 minus 1 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2. I am getting 8 3/8 inches. That is number 1 on your assignment. Okay, I'm skipping to number 5 on the assignment just so we can get a different pipe diagram. So I'm going to label what we're given. Overall, it is 17 inches. So 17 inches is the overall horizontal distance. The start is 5 inches. The offset is 5.5 inches. And we are using 3/8 threaded pipe. And you'll notice that I put J, K, and L by accident. These should really be M, N, and O. Whoops. M, N, O. Okay, first thing I always look for is there a diagonal pipe? And yes, N is on a diagonal. And so we always draw ourselves a right triangle out of that diagonal. So here's my right triangle. The reason we do that is because we can easily label our sides now. So what I mean is your offset, if you look right here, is 5.5 inches, which is the same measurement as this. So I can label this to be 5.5 inches. Also, we have two 45-degree fittings. And when you have two 45-degree fittings, that means that your triangle sides are exactly the same. There's our right angle. 5.5 inches. So pipe N is going to be really easy for us to find now. We can either do Pythagorean's theorem, a squared plus b squared equals n squared, or we can use the constant of a 45, which is 1.414. I think that would be the smartest thing to do right now. So to find pipe N, we are taking the side of the triangle, which is 5.5, and we are multiplying by 1.414. And I'm just going to type 5.5 into my calculator because that means 5.5. And I'm getting 7.777. Now, I have no idea what 0.777 is as a fraction. So in the back of my book, data table 1, I'm looking for 0.777, and it's about 3/4. So pipe N is 7 3/4 from center to center of those 45s. Okay, now I'm looking at pipe M up at the top. Pipe M goes from center of this 90 to center of this 45, and it's the same distance as the start distance. And so we already know the answer to M is 5 inches. And O, we're going to have to do a little bit of work. So let's think about this for a minute. Overall, we know that this is 17 inches, but we technically only want this distance for O. So we know that from here to about right here is 5 inches, and I'm going to highlight that so you can see it from here. Move that down. From here to about right here is 5 inches, same as the start. And then we know that from about here to here is 5.5 inches. And so whatever's left over here to here is going to be the O measurement. So I'm going to write this down. To find pipe O, we know the overall is 17. And if we take off 5 and we take off 5.5, whatever's left will be pipe O, center to center. So 17, we're taking off technically 10.5, which leaves us with 6.5 inches. So pipe O is 6.5 inches. Okay, now we are on to end to ends. So starting with pipe M. Pipe M is 5 inches center to center. And we are going to take off. We have a 3/8 inch threaded pipe. So M, if you look up at the top, is sandwiched between a 90 and a 45. And the takeoffs for a 90 and a 45 are 1 inch for the 90 and 3/4 inch for the 45. And you have to be careful on this one. A 3/8 inch fitting is so much smaller that its thread-in is not a 1/2 inch. It's actually 3/8 inch. So make sure you're looking carefully at data table 5 when you're doing your thread-ins. So construction calculator, typing this in. Actually, I'm just using a fraction app that I downloaded on my phone. 5 minus 1 minus 3/4 plus 3/8 plus 3/8 equals 4 on the dot. So our end-to-end measurement is 4 inches. Pipe N. N is between a 45 and a 45. So N is 7 3/4, center to center. Take off 3/4 from one of the fittings, take off 3/4 from the other fittings, and then add back our 3/8 of an inch per fitting. That gives us 7 3/4. Take off 3/4, take off 3/4, add 3/8, add 3/8, and 7 on the dot. And the last one is 6.5 for O. So pipe O is 6.5. Take off, we are between a 45 and a 90. So take off 3/4, take off 1, add your threads, which is 3/8. So 6.5, take off 3/4, take off 1, add back 3/8, add back 3/8, and 5.5 is the end-to-end measurement. And that was number 5 from your assignment. Okay, last one. We are jumping to now Unit 21. And honestly, I don't know what is even different from Unit 21 than Unit 20. But I'm still going to go through and do number 1 with you so you have one of the problems done on your assignment. So I'm going to label what they've given us. The vertical is 30 inches. The horizontal is 36 inches. The start is 16 inches. And you should notice right off the bat that pipe J is the exact measurement of your start. So pipe J is 16 inches. The next thing you should notice is pipe K is on a diagonal. And whenever you have a diagonal, you immediately draw your right triangle. So there's our right triangle. And let's think about this. We need to know, what is this measurement on the triangle? Well, overall, the entire rise or vertical is 30 inches, and we know that here to here is 16. So this leftover piece and 16 should together make 30 inches. Well, 30 subtract 16. I'm just going to write this up above. If I have 30 and I subtract 16, I get 14 inches. So that tells me that this piece is 14 inches. And notice that you have two 45s and you have a right triangle, which means that both of your sides of your triangle are going to be the same. So this measurement's 14 inches. And so now to find pipe K, we can either do Pythagorean's theorem or there's the shortcut. 14 multiplied by the 45 constant, which is 1.414. So 14 multiplied by 1.414 gives us 19.796. And in the back of my book, I'm looking for 0.796. And that is 13/16. So pipe K is 19 and 13/16 of an inch. And pipe L, we know overall this horizontal distance is 36 inches. And this was helpful to us. If this is 14, we know that this leftover and 14 make a total of 36. So what we would do is we would subtract off. If I take 36 and I subtract off 14, that's going to leave me with 22. So L is 22 inches. L is 22 inches. Now, I feel like we've been doing a lot with the takeoffs. So if you understand how to do your takeoffs, you can be done watching. But just in case, or if you just want the answers, I'm going to hurry and find each of these end to ends. So starting with pipe J. Pipe J is 16 inches center to center. And pipe J is between a 90 and a 45. And we have 3/8 inch PVC. So the 90 has a 3/8 takeoff. The 45 has a 1/4 inch takeoff. And finally, we don't have to add back the threads because this is PVC. So I'm going 16, take off, 3/8, take off, 1/4, and I get 15 and 3/8. So pipe from end to end should be cut at 15 3/8. Pipe K is 19 13/16. Takeoff, pipe K is between a 45 and a 45. And the takeoff for 45s is a 1/4 inch. So 19 13/16. Takeoff. Now I'm just going to take off a half because if you notice, a 1/4 and a 1/4 is just a half. That leaves us with 19 5/16. End to end. And the last one, pipe L, 22 inches, takeoff, sandwiched between a 90 and a 45. So a 1/4, takeoff 3/8. 22, takeoff a 1/4, takeoff 3/8 equals 21 3/8. Bam! There we are with unit 20 and 21.